You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 beep.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is Friday morning's edition of Ask the Master Auto Technician. I have Hansson Hindenburg calling all the way from Baytown Tires. He's your Tire Pros expert. So if you have any problems with tires, whether they're not going down the road straight, your car, or maybe it's vibrating, or maybe you need new tires, give him a call at 873-8900. And on that note, Hansson, how are we doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing great. A little foggy outside, but I don't think I'm too foggy myself.
Well, I tell you what, I prefer the fog in the morning rather than the bitter cold that normally happens this time of year. Because normally, this is the time. This is our winter. From January 15th to February 15th, we have winter, and I'm happy that it's like this. Last time I remember having a nice warm January was in December of '76, I believe. That was the warmest. Or no, 75, excuse me. January 75 was probably the warmest in 76 that I remember, and that's been a long time ago. But you know,
it makes it easier on the guys out in the shop, you know, when the weather's nice.
Oh, yeah.
The morality is just, they're just much more happier than they are when it's 20 degrees.
You can feel your hands, your fingers. You feel you actually pick something up and not worry about it. Did I hurt myself when I did that? Because you don't know if you hurt yourself sometimes when it's cold until you thaw out and you go, boy, I didn't know I even cut myself there, you know, and the blood starts to flow. But we've been in this industry a long time, and we see a lot of cars come, a lot of cars go. And one of the things I say, we all seem to have common problems. And one of the things I was talking about on the earlier yesterday's show was people will go out and buy used cars, and they buy them on site. They look good, they smell good, the engine's pretty, and then they buy them as is. They sign that and they bring it to you or they bring it to me to check it out, and we find all things wrong with it. And I try to encourage people out there watching to get the car checked out by a shop like yours or mine or somebody they trust out there before they actually buy it. What are you seeing? I tell people that if they don't do that, they're going to spend a lot more money needlessly.
Absolutely. I would never buy a car sight unseen, and a lot of people do that, like you said.
Yeah, they do.
You have somebody that you trust, check it out, take a look underneath, you know, hook it up to the scanner, see if there are any hidden codes. Now, the check engine light might be off, but there's lots of hidden codes in there that people don't understand. That all of a sudden, you know, there's a transmission code, but the check engine light won't come on.
That's so true. So good point. Good point. You might want to say is take it to a shop before you buy it. Have them running what we call a system scan or a health check to look at all the computers on the vehicle and see if there's any hidden codes. That's good advice right there. And maybe another thing is to make sure all the system readiness monitors have run on the car's computer that runs the engine. Because you and I have seen it where people buy a car, the light's not on, they drive it, and 3 days later the engine light pops on, and now they got to get it fixed, or they want that light out, but now the people who they bought it from says, well, you signed it as is, and you and I both have seen that. And sometimes it gets rather expensive.
People don't understand as is really means
as is.
You really have no any kind of recourse after you drive the vehicle off the lot. We used to have I want to say we used to have 72 hours. You could make a decision if you made a big contract, but I don't know if we have that anymore when they're buying it as is. When they sign that little thing that says as is, I don't think you have any buyer's remorse recourse. No, I don't think you do. I don't think that there's any kind of cool-off period.
No, I don't think there is. There used to be. I don't think we have that anymore, especially when it comes to used cars. That's why they put that on there. But what are some of the things that I know some of the things I see is that check engine light that comes on, because when I check the system readiness monitors, I'll look and say, well, the misfire monitor is passed, and this monitor is passed, and the EGR monitor, and the CAT's passed, but dadgummit, looked like the EVAP hasn't passed.
Well, that's a very common problem. I mean, almost 8 out of 10 used cars that we see have some kind of EVAP issue. And sometimes it's just, a solenoid for the EVAP, and other times there's a crack in the gas tank. And you're talking a couple of $100 to $1,200.
Well, we were talking about earlier. You said a gas tank. We had a customer that bought a car from a friend of a truck, and he complained after he bought it about a week later. He said, I smell gasoline, and my check engine light came on.
Sure enough, we saw an evap code like we're talking about. And I said, well, we got a leak someplace in it. It says it's got a large leak. And I know your cap's good, and so let's see what's going on. So we take my 5-gas machine and start moving it around the gas tank, and on the top of the gas tank, it goes nuts. I go, well, you got a leak on the top of the tank. Let's pull it down. We pull it down, and we find the top of the tank rusted, has holes in it from rust. So the tank has to be replaced along with the fuel pump and all the other things that go with it. And the customer's going, I wish I had it looked at before I bought it. Now he's got a $3,000 bill, if not more, that could have been avoided if he had the car checked out before he purchased it.
Well, and there's other simple things that people don't look at. Well, the headlights are, yellowed, and those things are a couple of $100 a piece.
And sometimes you can get them buffed out where they look extremely well. I mean,
just a little bit of restoration. But if there's only one key to the car, in a lot of cases, to get another key is $300 or $400, especially on European cars.
Oh, isn't that the truth? My wife found that out about her Crossfire. She only had one key, and before we purchased it, I said, okay, we've checked the car out, everything, we know we got some ball joints on it. We only have one key. I want another key. And they looked at me like, you want another key? I went, yes, I'd like 2 keys. They said, well, that's a $500 key. I said, not my problem. And they gave us a $500 key once we agreed to purchase it, and we said, we'll buy this, and they put it in there, we will supply you another key. And they're laser-cut keys. They're not cheap. They're like Mercedes back then, and they were very expensive, and this is a 2004 model.
Well, and people also ignore TPMS sensors.
Oh,
well,
golly.
I bought this Toyota a couple of months ago. Now the TPMS light stays on, and it bothers me. And I say, well, we went around and checked all of the sensors, and all of the sensors are telling me that the batteries are low. So you have to replace 5 sensors on a lot of these Toyotas.
There's $1,000.
And you're talking big money.
Yeah.
And so if that's one of those things, sometimes if you're negotiating on a used car, that you have to think about. If the car is 5 or 6 years old, those sensors most likely are about to go out.
And you told me the average lifespan of the tire pressure monitoring system batteries are only like 5 to 7 years. That's all you're. That's all
at best. It depends on how much the car has been driven, because driving down the road engages the sensors, turns them on actually.
Does wakes them up.
If the car's been sitting, you might be lucky. You might get a couple of extra years out. But average lifespan that we've seen so far is about 5 years.
Well, and that's true. And speaking of 5 years, we were talking about tires. How many people have you seen come into your shop with brand new looking tires, still have the molding teats where it comes out on there, and it looks like they're brand new, but you look at the date on them, and the tires are 5 or 6 years old. How many times have you seen that?
A lot of times, we see it almost every day, and people go like, well, the car's been sitting around for a couple of years. And like you said, we look at the date, and, well, it's still got a lot of tread on there. Tread is, unfortunately, not always the best indicator.
No, it's not.
After 5 or 6 years, the likelihood of the tire starting to separate is almost 80 to 90%.
What did you tell me? Once upon a time, they tried to put something called the tire milk law, I think, years ago.
Right, they tried to, enact a law, and that you couldn't sell tires that were over 2 or 3 years old. And that any tire really should be off the road after 6 years of the production date.
6, it should be, but how many times we see tires on the road that are 10, 12, 13 years old? I actually saw one the other day that had 3 digits in it.
That's right back from the 90s.
From the 90s, I went, holy no way I'm going to let this car on the road. I told the customer, I said the vibration you're feeling is not your tires out of balance. All your tires are square. They're not round anymore. They've all slipped belts on it. And
well, in some states, not our state, state inspection will, point that out. And if the tires are over 8 years old, they really say that you have to get another set of tires, or they will give you an inspection sticker.
I didn't know what it was. I knew it was 5 years old is when they recommend changing tires, not having them on there. What's the national? I thought the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration recommended changing tires at 5 years. But I think that's what they recommend, but it's not. They're not making it mandatory in some states till the tires are 6 or 7 years, or maybe a little older.
Yeah, a lot of these things are on the books, but they're just not enforced.
Yeah, that's true.
Like we talked about it before. Registering your tire, re-register your tire with the manufacturer, with the DOT number, but it's on the books nationwide that if there's a recall, the DOT number should be registered with the manufacturer so they could get in contact with the end consumer that bought that tire to let them know that the tire has been recalled. But the government doesn't have any money to enforce that law. So we do it, but most places don't because it's just not enforced.
Well, I think we were last night. I was at Gulf Coast State College, and there was a young man. Tho Bishop was giving a speech on Austrian economics, and he was talking about how much we spend in regulation compliance a day, just a day. Just what the government spends and what people spend just in regulation. It was several $1 billion a day in non-productive regulatory compliance. And he says that's part of the problem that we're having such a downturn in our economy, because we spend most of our money just trying to be in compliance with the regulations that's being put out there. And like you said, there's not a lot of money left out there. And sometimes I think we're actually pricing ourselves out of business, so to speak, with all the regulations out there, because you've seen it as well as I have over the years.
Well, in what surprises me a lot of times is that the industry itself, like tire industry and automotive industry, actually wants to step up and do some of these things in safety measures and compliance, and the government goes, no, it has to be approved and all these things, and we wind up lagging in these measures actually being implemented 4 or 5 years.
Well, even like you said, okay, so it's not taking a chance, not trying to step out of their comfort zone, and that's exactly what Robert Cochran talked about of why we have such a problem. This last week he was talking about why the schools in Florida have such a problem on teaching students is because they're scared to try anything new, and the bureaucracy, that's the layers of bureaucracy, will not encourage anything new. If you try anything new, you're gonna lose a job. You can't, and no one wants to lose a job, but that's what's keeping us from being.
Well, and that's what's great about you and I have a small business, and if something is good, we can implement it today.
Yeah.
Why some of the larger chains or bigger businesses, sometimes just a small step is, checking every tire that comes in. Well, it has to be a policy across all of our stores, and it takes them 6 months to a year to implement it. We can do it today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. That's why I think Richard Cochran and why a lot of people say we need to get our school boards back and rules back down to a state and local level instead of a federal level, because of the rules and regulations that stifle growth, that stifle innovation, that stifle new ideas and new creativity, and stifle students that want to learn. I mean, the people that work for us a lot, maybe they weren't A students in school. That doesn't mean they weren't smart. It just means the school wasn't appealing to them. But when they found courses that did excite them, like auto technology or shop class, our employees excelled in that. Those are the people that we hire.
Well, in our country, we don't have apprentice programs where you talk about we could pick Germany. They have, if you don't do too well in books, but you're excited about working with your hands, you can go into an apprentice program and become a master auto technician. They have a much higher turnout of good technicians than we do here in the United States.
If I'm not mistaken, a master auto technician in Germany is considered higher on the socioeconomic scale than a lot of people over there, if I'm not mistaken.
It really is. It's a profession that you are, that's recognized as being a big part of, the community.
Yeah, and that's the thing and here in America, no one really thinks about a technician. On the socioeconomic level, we're right there in the same area as other service, plumbers and garbage people and people that work on roads. They don't think much about how important an auto technician is till their car doesn't do what they want it to do. Then all of a sudden, we're their best buddies.
Well, you're right. I mean, if you're stuck on the side of the road all of a sudden, or if you're sitting on the toilet and it doesn't flush,
we're their plumbers and mechanics become your best buddy when you need us. Hansson, we got to go. We're up against a break. They can visit you at 873-8900 Monday through Saturday, and you'll be able to take care of them if they need any help, right?
Have a great week. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. 1414.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed.